Good morning. Thank you all for waiting. My name is Julia DeLapp, and I am the director of the Center for Early Childhood Education here at Eastern Connecticut State University. And I want to welcome you to this event today to announce the results of the 2017 TIMPANI Toy Study. This is a study that we have been doing for the past 8 years to better understand how different kinds of toys affect children's cognitive development, their social development, their language skills, and their creative thinking. The TIMPANI Toy Study is just one of a variety of different research efforts that the center undertakes. Over the past year, our faculty and our students have conducted studies on how teachers and children talking about math influences their mathematical thinking, their mathematical learning over the course of a year. They've looked at how language differences in children affect their play and their social interactions. And they've looked at how preschool teachers introduce different kinds of play materials in their classrooms. We conduct this kind of research in an effort to meet our mission of improving the quality of care and education for young children. And we also share those research findings, and we share what we know to be best teaching practices. And one of the ways that we do that is through video, which has become, as I'm sure all of you know, an increasingly important and even expected tool in adult learning. And our videos really bring ideas to life, and they show current and future teachers how real children respond to different teaching strategies. So we've produced over 115 videos to date that are available for free on our website, and they are viewed all over the world by preschool teachers, by home child care providers, by students studying to be teachers. They're incorporated into course syllabi. And with the number of hits we have as of this morning, we are confident that by the beginning of next year, we will have achieved 1 million views on our YouTube channel. We know that they are getting broad use. The videos are produced by our incredible production staff, and they don't always get recognition, so I just want to make sure that I mention them by name today. So in the back, we have Ken Miesemer and Sean Lesser, our production specialist and our editor and videographer, and they are the ones who are responsible for the technical quality of our video. So I just want to acknowledge their work. And they are supported by a cadre of communications students. So we have students who do internships at our center every year. One of them is here today. She's also videotaping it in the back. And she is responsible for doing a lot of the editing on the video that you're going to see today. So we will be showing a 7.5-minute excerpt of a video that shows highlights from this year's study. So Isla Heald in the back with the long scarf is our communication intern. So excellent job. We also involve students in the research. They are really the ones who are responsible for carrying out the bulk of this research. And so today we have 2 of the students who worked on this last year's study, and we have 1 student who is working on this year's study. So I just want them to stand so we can acknowledge them. So we have Nicole Green, Dominique McLean, and then way in the back, we have Allison Lundy. So these are the ones who are responsible for doing the research. We could not do this work without them. Thank you. We are really deeply committed to engaging undergraduate students in meaningful research and professional experiences. These kinds of experiences are things that students at other universities simply don't have available to them at the undergraduate level, but we believe they are a critical part of a liberal arts education. They provide an opportunity for our students to apply what they've learned in the classroom, and they make all of that book learning more meaningful to them. It also helps them get jobs and get into graduate school. So our graduates who have worked on research have a great success rate in pursuing those paths immediately after graduation. None of this would be possible without the support of our Board of Regents and Eastern's own senior administration. We are deeply indebted to them to continuing to support this work and championing that. And so I would like to introduce you all now to one of our biggest champions and supporters, President Elsa Nunez.
apologize. I ran a little late. I was in another meeting, and everybody says just one more minute, and it took longer than that, so my apologies. But I love this event, and for years I've been trying to get the winning toy information before you do. And for years they've denied me that privilege. They keep telling me, no, you can't get, that's sort of insider trading information, so you can't get the winner. So I will find out who the winner, what toy the winner is when you do. So I'm thankful for you being here today as we announce the results of the 8th annual Timpani Toy Study. For a president, this study is a dream. It brings the faculty's work and research together with student interest and undergraduate research, and then we're able to give the community information that is very valuable at this time of the season for them to buy toys that are meaningful for their own children. It's an exciting day for me. As a grandmother of 2 teenage boys and then 2 little girls, I can tell you this time of year is a great time for young children and a challenging time for parents and grandparents as we decide what the heck are we going to buy these kids. So this study helps us zoom in on something that's going to be very valuable and important in their lives. There are so many toys on the market, some of them being marketed heavily on television and online. What toys inspire a child's creativity is a question that I often ask myself. What toys are educational? That's really important to parents. And what toys foster a child's social skills? Also an important ingredient in their development. The Timpani Toy Study has developed a well-earned reputation at Eastern, in Eastern Connecticut, now nationally and internationally, for answering those questions over the past 8 years, and it's become a tradition in the process. Timpani is an example of groundbreaking empirical and thought-provoking student research, and that's what makes me so proud. It's student research on our campus. Not many undergraduate students in this nation get to conduct criteria-based behavioral research, but it is happening every day at Eastern. This year, Timpani results are interesting as usual, but I'm not going to reveal them in advance. That'll be done in a minute. But I will tell you this. Each year, the winning toy, and this year is no exception, has been unique and different, yet all have given children the freedom to explore their imaginations and to grow intellectually and socially. The study has garnered national media attention across our country these past 8 years and is being used as an educational model in countries across the globe. It is great to see Eastern appear in the news in Europe, in Asia, and elsewhere. It's been really, really amazing. But international acclaim is not why we conduct this study of preschool toys. We do it to help guide preschool teachers and, as I said, parents and grandparents and others in selecting toys for their children that promote intellectual growth, social interaction, and creativity. And we are reminded this year, as always, of the importance of play in child's development. And you'll hear from one of our faculty members, Dr. Trawick-Smith, talk about the importance of play in a child's life. It is a critical role that toys deserve in a child's playtime that we emphasize in the study. In the process, we have been able to give our early childhood education students an excellent opportunity to conduct empirical research under the tutelage of early childhood education professor and endowed chair, Dr. Jeffrey Trawick-Smith. I cannot think of a better mentor for student researchers who conduct the Timpani Toy Study. Jeff has an international reputation for his research and writing in the area of children's play. He holds an endowed chair at Eastern. He's an example to all faculty and to all staff and to all students of what it means to be a gifted, dedicated faculty member. He loves children. He is passionate about the nuances of playtime, and his excitement and expertise rubs off on the students that he teaches. In addition to Jeff, I want to congratulate, as Julia did, our student researchers in this year's study. Stephanie Dominguez, Nicole Green, Dominique McLean, Amanda Terenzi, as well as Emily Parsons, who provided study support, and the student Isla Heald, who edited the video documenting the Timpani evaluation process that we will see in a few minutes. All these students are to be commended for their painstaking data collection and analysis, as well as their commitment to young children. But there's always one person behind the scenes who does all the work. Presidents love to take the credit, but I can't take any credit, of course. Julia DeLapp is behind the scenes in the Center for Early Childhood Education for doing this work and for navigating the systems so that the students can do their undergraduate research, Dr. Trawick-Smith can be supported, and we can produce the best possible result in the studies. So Julia, thank you for all that you do at Eastern. With professionals like Jeff and Julia, we've been able to share the knowledge they and our students gain with early childhood professionals across the state. Eastern produces more early childhood educators than any other college in the state of Connecticut. Isn't that an amazing statistic? We are very, very fortunate that when our students graduate, they all get jobs. Employability is not an issue, and the students are very sought after because of the academic preparation that they get at Eastern. Before I pass the podium over to Dr. Trawick-Smith to announce this year's winning toy, I want to encourage the news media to visit our Child and Family Development Resource Center immediately after the program. The center is right beyond the door behind you, and you'll be able to see the toys in action before the children have lunch and go down for their naps. Again, thank you all for coming. I congratulate the team that put the study together, that executed the study, and produced the winning toy. Congratulations.
Thank you, President Nunez. I always have to say that although all of us kind of work on this, President Nunez has been the inspiration. I mean, you initially conceptualized this whole idea. At the time, I was skeptical of the idea of doing scientific research on children's toys, although it's just such a great fit with what we do here. And I always have to acknowledge that this was your idea. So thank you very much for that. So each year I get up here and I have to make some comments. That sounds wrong. I'm thrilled to make some comments about toys. And in particular, I comment in some kind of like profound way on this particular toy that has been identified as scoring highest in promoting development and learning among children. And so each year I kind of struggle with this. I think one of my challenges is to talk about a toy without actually revealing it to you, because that would give away the fun at the end and the building suspense, you see. But I'm going to do my best on this. And maybe what we'll do is, as I comment, you can kind of be trying to guess what kind of toy I might be talking about here. One of the things I've been doing lately, which is a little odd, maybe, I don't know, is thinking beyond just what these toys do for children here and now in their development and their learning, but rather to look ahead to how toys in general, and these particular toys, might shape children's lives as they get older, maybe as they enter the workplace, as they become grown-ups. Some of you who might have been here last time heard me talking, for example, about our highest scoring toy last year, and I made the claim that children who play with this toy a lot will go off to do great things in engineering and architecture. I don't know if you remember that. And how, in a way, these toys early on are laying the foundation for that. So I thought this year, so that we cover all of the disciplines in the liberal arts, I would comment on how this year's toy supports children's fiction writing. That is, if they play with this toy a lot, I'm going to claim they will become great writers, like William Faulkner or, Maya Angelou or someone like that. So here goes. At least I'm going to try and make this claim. One of the things, it doesn't advance. Oops, I'm doing the wrong button is why. All right, so first off, and many of you who know children know this happens often in play. Children, they kind of enter an imaginary world, a completely made up world that's separate from reality. For example, this little girl has created this imaginary world where she's a grown-up mother, with her baby securely tucked in her purse. Good protective parenting there, talking maybe to another mother. They're probably talking about child rearing, or maybe they might be complaining about their spouses. I've actually heard that in children's play. They kind of become, what adults show them. Anyway, but they have stepped into this imaginary world, and so I wrote a paper. I published it some time ago. One of the oddest things I've written, probably, where I make the claim this is very similar to what readers do when you read a novel or a short story. You enter this world. I like citing the work of John Gardner. I don't know if you've ever read any of his novels. A lot of people haven't. He's my favorite author, actually. And but I have to say that he also wrote a book on writing fiction. I decided to kind of dabble in that, some of you know. And one of the things he said is that he talked about a fictional dream, which he said is this magical state that a reader enters. And it's kind of a vivid world that they can step into and they can live for a time. And if you think about it, when you're reading something, you just become almost part of that world. And so I made the claim in this article that, well, how different is that really, even though children maybe not reading conventionally like adults do, how they kind of step into these imaginary worlds and how connected that might be to, reading and writing. So, I have to say, I keep doing this. So we have found a number of the toys that we've studied over the years to really inspire children to enter that fictional dream. And I think in particular of the toy cash register a few years ago, where kids, they, in playing with this, they kind of created this whole like supermarket scenario, or they became shoppers. But you can see how they kind of entered this imaginary world. Or you can see toy pizza that was, kind of to transform children's worlds a little bit. So there are a lot of toys that really do help children to kind of enter this dream, if you want to call it that. However, to become a writer, one must create the fictional dream. As Gardner says, writers construct various characters in great detail. They hunt through cupboards, glance irritably through their mail, set mouse traps, argue with each other, and mull things over. He had a great sense of humor. But the idea here is that you create this world and all of its detail. And he also claims that as they write, writers continually wonder what these characters will do, see, hear, and feel next. This is a little bit different than just becoming a character, an actor within the fictional dream. It is now the process of actually creating it. And I'm going to argue that some toys, and the one that we're going to be revealing today, actually encourage children not just to kind of imagine, to kind of enter this imaginary world, but create a full scenario, a full world in a way that, fiction writers do. I've said, actually, and it was in this article again, you can see how old it is, but toys themselves become these multiple characters in this fantastic story. So really, instead of being actors, they're now playwrights, they're directors, they're choreographers. They actually create the world in an active way, and they give many different characters thoughts, feelings, actions, and things to say. So, intrigued yet? So I see that the toy we're going to unveil is in some ways unique in its ability to kind of guide children in creating a fictional dream, an imaginary world, and that it might go a little beyond the typical kinds of play materials that just engage children in pretend. So, in order to convince you of this argument, if you followed any of it, I kind of just make this stuff up and see what happens. I don't see any terribly puzzled looks, but you never know. So I did try and dig out a few famous authors that actually played with these toys. Now, I have to tell you, famous authors' lives are pretty sad. I mean, like I looked at some of the, if you look up famous authors, their childhoods are generally awful. But, I think in a way, play may be what saved them, a bit. But if you study this, and I haven't done a real lot of this, but you find that there are quite a number of authors that have actually played with the materials that you're about to think about. Hans Christian Andersen, Lewis Carroll, Ray Bradbury, Robert Louis Stevenson. By the way, you can get a theme here. They're kind of somewhat fantasy novels. They're also all men, so I added the Bronte sisters because I did read that they did play with these toys. Sorry we only have Euro-American, authors, but we'll work on this, to get a little more diversity. Here's a good one. Franz Kafka played with these toys. He played with these toys. So the idea here is that if we get children to play with the toy for this year, the Timpani toy, a great deal, then they will become famous authors that will probably give generously to the university someday when they're famous. Yeah, that's what we want. So, which timpani toy is it that's going to inspire children in this way? And by the way, I should also mention, in the short run, immediately promote thinking and learning, language, social interaction, imagination. I guess that's what I'm focusing on most. So it's time, that moment when we share this. Oh, we do the video first, sorry. I act like I've never done this before. Sorry. Okay, yeah, the video first. Sorry. I'm glad you're here.
So what we're going to show you is just an excerpt of this, and you'll get to see children playing with the different toys and hear about how some of the different toys inspired play.
I was thinking and learning to see if you could see that the child was really thinking as they were playing with the toy.
While children are playing, if they're actively engaged in constructing new knowledge, building on their schema.
Johnny, no, I can do it. I think this one. It's a plum. A plum.
We looked to see if children were problem solving, so they were trying to figure out how to fit puzzle pieces together or trying to do something more above and beyond.
And also that they're curious about it, so asking questions about maybe the purpose of the toy or maybe even proposing different things that they could do with the toy.
I mean the queen.
The highest scoring toy in the thinking and learning category was pies.
It's a plastic pie that's probably the size of an actual pie, and you can take it apart. It's a cardboard wheel that you can put on the bottom that will split the pie into sections of different ways to sort the pie. And then there are multiple different fruits, all in different colors.
Purple.
They could sort them by color or put so many in each of the 5 different sections of the pie. They had to think about what they were going to do for it.
Another toy that did almost as well in this category was a plastic set of animals.
How are we going to find the T-Rex in this mess?
Children demonstrated a lot of in-depth thinking when they were playing with the animals.
These two boys were playing with the animals, and they grabbed a book. They were building on their knowledge of dinosaurs because they were going through and classifying the dinosaurs that they had in their hand with the ones that were in the books.
All right, Joe.
There he is. That's called a Brachiosaurus.
A lot of times we saw children sorting them into which animals lived where and what the animals did.
Social interaction is when we're looking to see if the children are interacting with their peers, as well as working collaboratively on the cooperative or associative level of play.
What's your favorite color cupcake in mine? Pink. Okay, let's share the pink.
Whether or not they're playing by themselves, demonstrating parallel play, or solving problems peacefully with their peers.
We had several toys that did well in this category. One of them was pies.
Let's eat the pie.
They had to share the pies. They were very engaged with each other, and they were talking a lot about what they were doing, and they were giving each other advice. So like one of them would say, I want to sort that, and so then they'd be like, okay, well, we'll sort it into the different fruits that are in the pie, and they'd go and sort it together.
The cupcakes also scored relatively well in this category.
These are 10 cupcakes. I know that. I made them for you, just myself.
Children would sometimes work together to figure out how to sort the cupcakes or how to put them together and take them apart, but mostly we saw a lot of dramatic play with the cupcakes.
Let's have a cupcake party.
But the animals was the highest scoring toy in social interaction. Children engaged in elaborate play scenarios with their peers.
For creativity and imagination, we're looking for kids that are obviously using the toy creatively, but beyond that, using the toy for a purpose that it's not necessarily intended for.
Doing something that you wouldn't expect them to do. Like the magnetic builder for that, they weren't just like connecting them back and forth, but then they'd use them as like weights, like they were working out.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
They used the whole block area and they like made a long train with it.
This was, I think, my favorite category because it was really interesting to see what they would come up with. One of the girls used wiki sticks. She made a ring out of it, and she went around and gave everyone rings that day.
2 toys scored fairly highly in this category. The first was the animals.
And we need some animals for the city and trees. Yeah, I want giraffe. For the city, and we need, don't forget the trees, right?
I think the animals is one that really scores high in that category because I think there's just so much to that toy. There's trees, there's rocks, there's seaweed, there's all different animals from the jungle, the ocean. They want to just make all different noises themselves and at one another and just create these scenes and using their imagination.
Another toy that did well on creativity was the interlocking builder.
They're little pieces that sort of connect together and that you can build larger shapes with. They would use their imagination to create something completely out there. I saw children create some amazing structures.
These 2 girls were pretending to be doctors. They would pretend like one of the toys was a stethoscope.
Oh, prop your legs up on here so I can pretend like you're a doctor, and times like that where they were using the toy, but they were also using their imagination.
For verbalization, we're looking for students that are talking as they're playing, but also talking with their peers as they're playing.
Where did the baby go? The baby could go in the river.
We're looking for if the children are actively engaged in speech, either towards themselves, talking their thoughts out loud, or if they're talking a lot with their peers.
The highest scoring toy in the verbalization category was the animals.
They used animals a lot for role-playing or just pretend play.
I'm watching over the sheep and I'm making sure everyone's okay. Okay, don't be next to us, okay? Yeah, there's a lot of mediums here, so be careful. In the outdoor, so if any of you guys sleep out here, make sure you have a camping board, okay? Okay.
They're talking about what the animals are doing and the noises that they're making, and they're talking to their peers to kind of clue them in on how the play is going.
We're moving a few trees into the island. And on the island there's pigs. Go to Black Center today? No. Dinosaurs.
There we go. All right.
Now, is it okay? I've got to get this down. I should pay more attention to Julia's schedule. So anyway, so here's the toy, and we do this simultaneously, right? The Timpani toy for 2017 is Animals Mega Pack Playset. You know, I'm tempted to ask if all of you played with these toys when you were growing up, or actually, and I'm not going to do this long because you know that was kind of the exciting ending. But these are sometimes called replica play toys, and I would include here not just animals, but little plastic people, little farm sets, even cars, toy cars. And I'm going to make the argument that with these kind of toys, children might make more symbolic leaps, that's a phrase that's used in literature, than just pretending to be someone yourself. There are several things you need to do. You need to project yourself into these little animals. You heard them talking. The animals were talking to each other. They were actually speaking and acting as though they're another character instead of themselves. They take many different perspectives of different characters at one time. They manipulate a whole population of make-believe characters. So the idea here is that this kind of play, I hope you could see it, especially in the video, really was children used it to kind of create more than just me drinking water or buying something at the store, but really, you know, kind of creating a whole world. I did want to comment that where I first became kind of interested in this kind of play was when I did a study in Puerto Rico where I found children played with these kinds of animals and people so much that a lot of the teachers actually created these big replica play centers with just nothing but animals, not blocks, just animals, little cars, little boats. And you'd see children in very large groups, which children in Puerto Rico, they play in large groups, would do these elaborate kind of fantasy worlds in that space. I always get sad as I talk about this because I wonder how those kids are doing now, grown up, but still, you know, I feel very sad for their lives there. The other thing I just wanted to mention is, like so many of our studies, replica play toys have been around forever. They may look different, they may be different. All of the authors that I named played with some type, either whether it was little people, toy soldiers, doll houses with little people, that kind of thing. I share here, for example, a replica play toy that was recovered from ancient Rome. So you could see there's a little animal that kids were playing with so long ago, and then here is our toy today. So I'm actually kind of thrilled. I think every time we discover that a toy that has been around a long time, that's pretty basic, that's not too expensive, does so well with children. I think this is a really valuable kind of play that also is something that families can provide at home. So I don't know if you want to say anything more. Or I want to thank all of you for coming.
And please talk with our student researchers afterwards. They would love to tell you more about their role in this study.
So.